The Siege of Fallujah was an offensive that the Iraqi government launched against ISIL in Al-Karmah and in the city of Fallujah, with the aim of enforcing a siege of Fallujah. During the operation, local Sunni residents revolted against ISIL for a period of 3 days, in February 2016. On the 22nd of May, after completing preparations around the city, the Iraqi Army and supporting Shi'ite militias launched the Third Battle of Fallujah. Background: on the 4th of January 2014, ISIL, then known as the Al-Qaeda-affiliated Islamic State of Iraq, captured the city of Fallujah, after Iraqi government forces withdrew from the city following a 5-day battle. This victory allowed ISIL to capture its first city on Iraqi soil, and it also allowed them to establish a stronghold only 40 kilometers from the Iraqi capital of Baghdad. From April to May 2015, the Iraqi army launched an offensive in and around the town of Al-Karmah. During the offensive, the Iraqi army made some limited gains in the Al-Karmah, by capturing some territory in the town and building a base for a future assault to fully recapture both Fallujah and Al-Karmah. In mid-May 2015, ISIL captured Ramadi, after a large series of suicide attacks during a sandstorm prompted Iraqi forces to abandon the city to ISIL. 2 months later, the Iraqi security forces recovered from the loss in the Anbar's provincial capital, and on the 13th of July 2015, launched an offensive to recapture the Anbar province. During the offensive, ISIL suffered a major blow after they lost Ramadi to Iraqi government forces in February 2016. On the 1st of February, the Iraqi army launched an offensive on the Fallujah Island area, which is the region located between the villages Al-Bu Nazir and Al-Bu Shajal, situated between Ramadi and Fallujah. On the same day, the Iraqi army managed to capture the villages of Al-Bu Sharlabo and Al-Bu Shajal, to the northwest of Fallujah. The offensive, total siege. On the 2nd of February, the Iraqi army fully severed the last supply lines between the Fallujah Island region and the city of Fallujah, completely besieging the city. This led to concerns that an estimated 30,000–60,000 civilians trapped in Fallujah would starve, due to the lack of airdrop supplies into the city. On the 10th of February, it was reported that the Iraqi army had fully recaptured the Fallujah district, including the Fallujah Island area. Fallujah revolt and Al-Karmah offensive. From 15 to the 19th of February, the Iraqi army launched an offensive into the town of Al-Karmah, to the northeast of Fallujah, killing dozens of ISIL militants. On the 18th of February, a large number of local Sunni tribesmen revolted against ISIL, after ISIL beat a woman. Among other restrictive practices enforced by ISIL's Al-Hizb secret police, amid an ongoing siege, ISIL was reported to have withdrawn into Fallujah city, after local Sunnis burned the Al-Hizb headquarters and clashes spread. On the 20th of February, the clashes began to die down as ISIL began carrying out mass arrests, and it was reported that there were still some Sunni fighters who were pinned down in parts of Fallujah, who would likely be massacred if the Iraqi government, the US-led coalition, did not intervene. On the 21st of February, the Iraqi army began shelling ISIL positions on the outskirts of Fallujah, in support of the Sunni tribal fighters. Late on the 21st of February, ISIL crushed the revolt, and detained 180 men. However, on the same day, the Iraqi army deployed reinforcements to Fallujah, in preparation to storm the city. On the 23rd of February, the Iraqi army fully recaptured the town of Al-Karmah, after they destroyed ISIL's last stronghold in the town. On the 24th of February, a coalition airstrike killed 30 ISIL militants in the Al-Karmah sub-district, just east of Fallujah. tightening siege. On the 25th of February, the Iraqi governor of Anbar stated that the battle for Fallujah would begin soon, and that it would be much shorter than the battle for Ramadi. On the same day, the Iraqi army tightened the siege on Fallujah, pushing into the outskirts of Fallujah, and securing all of the bridges leading into the city. On the same day, the Iraqi army cleared the Al-Budaig district in southern Fallujah, killing 19 ISIL militants. It was also reported that ISIL was using food as a weapon in Fallujah, denying food supplies to the people it suspected of having links to the rebel tribesmen or being non-ISIL sympathizers. On the 27th of February, the Iraqi government reported that 600 ISIL fighters had managed to flee Fallujah to nearby areas, and to the city of Mosul. After the defections, local sources estimated that there were only 400 ISIL militants remaining in Fallujah city. On the 28th of February, the Shi'ite militia forces repelled an ISIL attack on Al-Karmah, which was described as one of the largest attacks on the town. Later on the same day, Iraqi government forces repelled a massive ISIL suicide attack in Abu Ghraib and western Baghdad, which was the largest attack carried out by the group in the area in nearly 2 years. The assault left 48 ISIL militants and 23 Iraqi soldiers dead. On the 4th of April, Iraqi security forces killed 150 ISIL fighters near Fallujah. Coalition spokesman Col. Steve Warren said that U.S. forces in Iraq didn't confirm if the number of extremist fighters killed, but some 100 militants were killed on the same day by airstrikes conducted by the U.S.-led coalition, which could have been part of the tally. On the 6th of April, 8 Iraqi soldiers were killed in an attack launched by ISIL on a military barracks in Al-Marmal village, east of Fallujah. On the 9th of April, 10 civilians were killed and 25 others were injured after airstrikes and artillery shelling by the Iraqi army targeted the Al-Fallujah Market and Nazil district in the downtown area of the city. On the 10th of April, 6 ISIL militants were killed by the Iraqi army's artillery shelling in the area of Fallujah west of the city. On the 21st of April, the US-led coalition conducted an airstrike on an ISIL gathering in the AHSI area near Amara Fallujah, killing the top ISIL commander in southern Fallujah along with 6 of his assistants. On the 26th of April, warplanes bombarded a number of areas in Al-Risala, central Fallujah, resulting in the death of 8 civilians, including 3 children, and wounding 13 others. On the 27th of April, 6 ISIL militants were killed and 5 others were wounded when the Iraqi army pounded ISIL positions in the city with artillery. On the 28th of April, coalition aircraft conducted 3 airstrikes on ISIL headquarters in the Al-Rofa area, north of Al-Karmah district, killing 15 ISIL terrorists, including 3 leaders, named Katab al-Halabusi, Aoush al-Shami, and Mossadegh Abdul Galal. Meanwhile, an ISIL vehicle carrying machine guns was also destroyed. On the 30th of April, unidentified fighters attacked a gathering of ISIL militants near the Al-Wa area in the Al-Julan neighborhood, in central Fallujah, killing 7 ISIL militants. On the 2nd of May, security forces carried out a large-scale military operation targeting ISIL gatherings in the Al-Falafat area, killing 15 ISIL members and injuring 10 others, as well as bombing a laboratory for manufacturing booby-trapped vehicles. On the 3rd of May, the Iraqi army and allied militia forces launched an offensive in the southern Fallujah area, capturing covering the areas between Amarah and Fallujah city. By the next day, Iraqi government forces had come within 3 kilometers of Fallujah's southern entrance, capturing 4 villages, killing 100 ISIL militants, and destroying 10 ISIL tunnels. On the 5th of May, Anbar Operations Commander Major General Ismail Malawi told Anadolu Agency that the Iraqi Army had captured 5 areas of the city. On the morning of the 5th of May, violent clashes broke out between 2 factions belonging to ISIS in Nazil neighborhood in central Fallujah, after the theft of 700 million dinars that were deposited with one of ISIS leaders called Jabara, resulting in the killing of 10 ISIS members and injuring 8 others. On the 7th of May, security forces conducted operations that targeted the headquarters and gatherings of ISIS in the areas of Al-Hur and Zebun al-Hansil in the vicinity of Amarah Fallujah, resulting in the death of 25 ISIS elements. On the 8th of May, coalition warplanes carried out an airstrike on ISIL positions in south of Fallujah, killing 14 ISIL militants. Warplanes also destroyed 3 car bombs and killed the suicide bombers as they were trying to attack the Iraqi security forces in the same area, near Fallujah. On the 9th of May, Iraqi Air Force bombarded 2 ISIL buildings, 2 caches of weapons, and 60 rocket launchers in the area of Al-Bushafab in Amarah Fallujah. Earlier on same the day, 20 ISIL militants were killed during an aerial bombardment in south of Fallujah. From the 9th of May, 140 ISIL militants were killed in clashes in the western and southern suburbs of Fallujah. On the 10th of May, it was reported that 2,000 families were trapped in 2 villages, Al-Buhuwar and Hasai, and were being used as human shields by ISIL. On the 11th of May, 8 ISIL militants were killed and 2 more were wounded, as coalition airplanes conducted 2 airstrikes against a booby-trapped ISIL vehicle near the Falahat and Halabiza villages. On the 14th of May, ISIL forces claimed to have killed 100+ Iraqi forces in a large suicide attack at the residential compound in Amarah Fallujah. Another report put the death toll at 70 soldiers and 1 policeman. Aftermath, late May offensive. On the 22nd of May, after a prolonged siege, the Iraqi army announced that it was building up its forces around Fallujah, in preparation for a large-scale assault on the city that would soon be initiated. According to Iraqi military leaders, these plans are in place to build on the momentum from a recent victory against ISIL in the town of Rutbah. They are also in place to degrade ISIL's ability to conduct suicide bombings in Baghdad. The recent attacks that killed 200 civilians are widely believed to have come out of Fallujah. The army sent messages to besieged residents to be prepared to leave Fallujah through secured routes that will be announced later. Quote, according to UNHCR, 80 families have managed to escape before the 24th of May. However, the danger is made clear through civilian contacts who said that ISIL death squads will kill anybody in Fallujah who leaves the house or waves a white flag. The Popular Mobilization Forces declared on the 23rd of May that they had captured Al-Karmah, about 16 kilometers northeast of Fallujah, which brings most of the territory east of Fallujah under government control. They also announced the liberation of Al-Harariyat, Al-Shahabi and Al-Dwaya and the killing of 40 ISIL militants during the military operation. Iraqi government announced that pro-government fighters had captured the villages of Luhaib and Al-Bukhanfar on the 24th of May. On the 25th of May, 16 towns and districts on the eastern outskirts of Fallujah were cleared by Iraqi security forces. Included in this were the gains from a column in the northeast, which liberated the town of Sayar days after the capture of Al-Karmah. These clashes resulted in the death of 40 ISIL militants, an additional 123 ISIL militants, 15 civilians and 35 Iraqi forces and militiamen were killed in clashes which gained the Iraqi Army control over the remaining districts in the southeast, allowing them to create a corridor that cut the ISIL-controlled zone in two. According to Qasm Araji, a member of the Defense Committee, the advancing forces are continuously gaining ground and nearing Fallujah's eastern gate. Starvation and negotiations. As the siege tightened, tens of thousands of Iraqis trapped in Fallujah were left without regular access to food and medicine, as shortages intensified in recent weeks. As the Iraqi army tightened its grip on the city, local reports indicated that ISIL grew bloodier and more desperate. Some residents reported that they had no fuel to heat themselves during the cold winter. Still, some supplies were available in some stores, but only for ISIL fighters or sympathizers, according to local reports. Iraqi officials said that negotiations led by the International Red Cross have been going on in an attempt to get ISIL to allow some aid teams to enter into the city and provide basic assistance. However, these negotiations have not been successful yet. Hekmat Suleiman, the spokesperson for Anbar's governor, said that the Iraqi army had tried to deliver food to the civilians, but that ISIL had blocked the efforts. A senior federal security official confirmed the negotiations, but declined to specify whether the talks were happening with ISIL leaders inside the city or elsewhere. In the same day, ISIL pushed in the city center, after the Iraqi forces began to advance towards the hit surrounding areas. Executions and abductions. On the 30th of March, a commander of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Units, Colonel Mahmoud Mahdi Jumaili, said ISIL killed 35 people in the central district Fallujah on Wednesday after accusing them of attempting to escape for the city. On the 4th of April, ISIL burned 15 civilians to death for trying to escape Fallujah. On the 14th of April, a security source said ISIL militants began a massive offensive in the Al-Halbiz and Al-Bu Alawan areas of western Fallujah, abducting at least 100 Iraqi civilians. ISIL elements took the abducted civilians to the organization's prisons in the city. ISIL death squads were roaming the streets, saying they will kill anybody in Fallujah who leaves the house or waves a white flag.